It's a new year, the time when people make resolutions. So here are like 4 resolutions of things I'm resolved not to do as an author. Now, not all of these things are bad. Like, some of them have been done very well. They're just things that I personally don't want to do for reasons that I'll now explain. First, if I ever do a romance, which I'm not really planning on writing any soon, but if I do, I'm not going to have the lovers start out as hating each other. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, there have been a lot of great love stories that do that, but that's the thing. It's done, like, all the time. It's like, if you see a man and a woman at the beginning of a story and they hate each other, one of them isn't a bad guy, sometimes even if one is a bad guy, you just know they're going to end up together at the end. It's, like, boring. And in a worst case scenario, it feels like the writers are forcing the conflict on the characters. Like, they'll be rude to each other for no reason except so that they can hate each other and then fall in love. And, how many, like, successful relationships have ever started out that way? Like, does this ever even happen in real life? I admit, though, this is probably the resolution I'm most likely to break, because it's easier in some ways and dramatically to have characters go from hatred to love than it is for them to go from indifference to love. Still, I want to try to avoid this just for a change. Second, I'm not going to do any revenge fantasies. I mean, I may tell some stories with elements of revenge fantasy, like there's characters we hate and we enjoy seeing something bad happen to them in the end, but that's not going to be like the main point of the story. It's not like that's the hero's goal. In my experience, revenge fantasies are only fun if it's your revenge that you're fantasizing about. And I'm especially not going to do any, like, politically driven revenge stories, ones with social messages. I know some of those win awards and stuff, but in my experience, they tend to boil down to a series of, like, scenes where the bad guys give all the trite, boring arguments for what the author is against, and the heroes give all the really good arguments for what they're for. And actually, that's a best case scenario. In a worst case scenario, it's more like both sides give trite standard arguments, but the good guys' arguments are treated like they're super profound. Speaking of politics, I may do some political satire in my books, but I am not going to satirize whoever is the president of the United States of America. Like, Americans blame everything on the president. It's boring. Like, there are other government positions, people. Like, the president now, Joe Biden, most of the jokes about him are to the effect that he's senile, and as someone who actually interacts with old people pretty regularly, I don't really find that funny or tasteful. And the guy who was president before, Donald Trump, like, he was a popular target for satire before he became president, and he's still a popular target for satire after he's president. Like, it just seems kind of boring and lazy. If I do jokes about politics, like take some shots, it'll probably be less at people or, like, specific politicians or public figures than it will be at, like, philosophies or, like, slogans that I think are really dumb. This last one is one I don't think I'll be tempted to do, because it's not like a matter of taste or it can be done well or bad. I think this one is just bad. I am not going to resolve a conflict by having a character make a big speech and then everyone just goes, "You're right, we should listen to them," and then they fix everything. Like, that is so dumb. Has that ever happened in real life? I think it's mostly kids' movies that do this, but sadly, it's not totally absent from adult movies. So those are my resolutions as an author. What do you think of them? And if you're a writer, what are your resolutions? What are you resolved not to do?